not easy. Get you off set. But
No, it's fun.
Introduce yourself and tell us who your character is.
I'm Kate Walsh, and I play Annie in the film Honest Thief. Yeah.
What drew you to this role?
Well, I loved the idea of being in an action movie that's centered around a love story, and I think that's what sort of makes it different than maybe anything we've seen out there before. Also, of course, working with Liam Neeson. Huge fan of Mark Williams, too. I love Ozark. I love him as a human. That goes for Liam, too, and basically everyone on the set. It's been a real joy to work with everyone. But I was really drawn to this idea of a love story and people, second chances, you know, where both the role that Liam plays and that I play are just two people that have a history and a past like we would at our ages, and find each other. And it's sort of, you know, about what you do for love and how you grow and expand for love, with love, in ways that you probably never thought you'd have to or would ever anticipate, you know. And I thought that was a really interesting, beautiful theme to explore, especially in times where in a world that could be dark and tumultuous, and to have this kind of beautiful story in the midst of craziness it was really cool.
But your character Annie takes a few hits. along the way.
Annie does take a licking and keeps on ticking, as they say. That was also something that was really exciting for me. I was on, if I'm being super honest, I was really drawn to this big action sequence and this fight scene with Jai Courtney's character. And so that was really fun for me to work with Mark, who's our stunt coordinator, on it, and do that whole thing was really fun and exciting for me. And of course Shauna, who was my stunt double, who was incredible too. So at a certain point she took over for some of the head stuff. You'll see.
So you've done a great job, I think, of blurring the lines from what was considered small screen to big screen. And I don't even know if we have small screen anymore.
I think we just have sometimes we have really small screens, and people are watching things that were used to be on the big screen on a very tiny screen, on their watches, on their phones.
But you have such a rich history in television.
Yes.
And now we're, between all the Netflixes and the Amazons and all of that stuff, we're watching the same, we'll watch Grey's Anatomy right next to a 13 Reasons.
Right.
So have you felt that those lines, it's not about television versus, feature film or Netflix movie? I mean, do you find yourself not having to, even second guess yourself about what roles you take and what projects you get involved with?
Well, I think it's just always about writing, and one of the great things about TV, obviously, I'm not the first one to say this, is that it's a great area for writers and auteurs, and it's sort of like television, whether it, with streaming, and it was with cable initially, but then with streaming as well, it went from, the network model, which is 22 to 24 a year, which is served a ritual of content for people to watch all throughout the school year, if you will, September to May or April, to then being able to watch novels, really. It's like you could tell a whole story. So there's a beautiful thing about television. Mark Williams and I were actually talking about that the other night, of you can really delve into a character in a way that a film can't, and in a way that maybe a network television can't, because it's more story-driven or action-driven or serial. But that's the beautiful thing about television, is that you can continue and explore character. I mean, Bryan Cranston in Breaking Bad. I mean, there's so many great examples. But then in a film, there's nothing like a film. After having been in TV a long time, there's also a beautiful thing to things that end. So, a beginning, middle, and an end, an arc, and the intensity of, and there's one of the things I love about films, whether you see it on, television or in a theater, there's certain things visually that you really want to see on a big screen, and I think this is one of those films, to see all of the great cinematography and action and an energy and sort of tension of that. It's a great thing to still have the communal experience of watching something in the dark with strangers, and also not have your device to distract you, which I think we're all subject to, you know.
So talk about your collaboration with Mark. What was that whole experience like? And then moving on to your fellow actors.
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, Mark has been such an honor and a joy to work with. From the first time we Skyped, that's how we met, because I'm based in New York and he was in LA the first time. The second time we chatted, he was in here and doing location scouting. So I think I can say that we jibed right away in terms of what our ethos was, but the work ethic, and also what kind of stories he's interested in telling right now, and really jibing around the love story about it has to be kind of the centering, grounding thing for people to really care. And also just all of the characters, though, in the movie, whether it's Jeffrey Donovan or Jai or Anthony Ramos, they're all these men and of course Liam's character that are broken in certain ways or going through their challenges, and so that. And I think Mark and I really clicked in that too, that that's your way into humanity, is in the brokenness, you know, in this culture that often encourages us to strive for perfection or shiny, happy, perfect or something, that there's this great, really we want to see people that are broken and feel that they understand what we're going through, or that we can understand them. And so, yeah, we clicked right away. And
did you draw any similarities in your own personal life to the character?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think at a, certain age, you're like, oh, this is part 2. Cool. What's that going to be like? And there's a beautiful thing about that of like, oh, if you're lucky, you have more choice, or if your health is good and you can really explore and do kind of, I'm really fortunate, and I feel like I live in a place where I can, in many ways, create my life, the life that I want, and whether that's of service or work or friends and family and love. And so I'm interested in that, and how people choose to live in their middle life,
How big a draw was it to work with Liam, as well as, when you first read that script? I mean, were you like gunning for something, a character like that?
Yeah, it's really sexy. It reminded me of something that you see in the 70s, like this great, kind of a heist film, but with it was just kind of like very sexy to me, and romantic, and fun, and the message of love and hope, of course, was like really powerful for me. And again, I keep circling back to that love story. But then also Liam, I'd worked with him on Felt, so I knew him from that, and I'm just a huge fan of everything he's done and of him as a person. And so to be able to work up close and personal with him was really cool. And so that was definitely a big draw. Yeah.
Because when people, when you hear that Liam Neeson's attached to a movie, you think, big movie. But this is not really a big movie.
It's like a big little movie. A little big. Yeah. But I think it has the bigness of an action film, and like I said, one of those great heist films in a way, even though it's kind of heist-ish, but of the 70s for me, that's when I grew up really watching films, but that it has the intimacy of an independent film, and the relationships and connections that feel a little smaller and independent in the best way. That really, yeah.
What, have you had a memorable scene yet? Is there something that you've shot already or will shoot?
I mean, I'm almost done shooting. This is it. There's been so many.
Beat up? That's what I
The
want.
beat up. You want to know about the beat up scene? That was incredible. That was pretty memorable. For many reasons. But I was so excited to do that, and worked on it with our stunt coordinator, Mark, as I said, and Jai was so incredibly in it to win it and professional, and I felt very safe with him as well. And it's a very active, very violent scene. And so for me to be able to do that was really exciting. And it was also, because in the nature of the action stuff, and because this wasn't a driving scene, this was actually a physical fight and fight for your life kind of long sequence as well. There's a certain intensity and energy of that, and focus and sort of heightened awareness that happens, that I think all actors want, that sort of, or that you sometimes get. You get it from theater for sure, but rarely in film do you get that, or you get maybe certain scenes that you're just like at that fever pitch and your adrenaline's going and you're just like, wow. So it was really cool. The first day it went without incident. It was the best part. And they're like, well, let's just do this thing to get this one piece before editing where he throws you, and we're gonna fake, then they'll cut and the next coverage will be you like landing into this, shelves. But for this piece, we'll have, our guy standing there with a pad, and you'll just try, Jai will throw you into that. I'm like, cool, we work it out. And I remember thinking, my jeans are a little long, they're kind of under my shoe, and it'll be fine. So we did it in the last take. I nailed it every time. The last one, I slipped and hit my lip. This is the first stunt. And I hit my lip here on the edge of a door jamb. And I was just thinking, everything got more quiet than outer space, I imagine. And except for the sound of producers picking up their phones. I kept joking them, like, were you calling to see how much it would be to replace me? They said no, but maybe a little bit. But no, they were really, I just was quiet. I was like, okay, it didn't hurt, it didn't chip a tooth. Feel this, I was like, can I just get an ice pack? And then ice pack and arnica, and then it was fine. It was fine, it went down. It looked like I'd had a little bit of somebody did a filler in my lip, but just one side, and then they had to take a call. So it was just like a little fat lip for a minute, but that was pretty exciting. I was very happy that it was, and then I just, it was my fault. I knew, I was like, let me just hem my jeans and all. Yeah, Jack, the set medic, Jack and I became very, it was a quick, beautiful marriage, Jack and I, because then it's just, the bulk of the stunt work was the next day. It was broken up between 2 days, and I went off without a hitch. I mean, there's some high kicks that I'm super proud of in there. I fought like an animal. It was really, really fun. That was probably, other than working with Liam, that was the most fun, that piece. And then Jack had to, and then he had some mending to do, though, just for my own personal clumsiness. After I got through all that, I was out for dinner that night with one of the producers and another actor. We had a great meal. Walking back, I'm texting to put on Instagram the name of my favorite restaurant here, and there's a manhole cover. I trip, fall, and cut my hand off. After the entire 2 days of stunts where I got off, like, pretty much scot-free. So Jack had his work cut out for him with me.
Jack is?
The set medic. Our lovely Jack.
So the insurance budget went up just a little bit.
No, we Band-Aids. There was the stocks may have taken gone up for Band-Aids and Neosporin, arnica. But yeah, it was fun.
So when I read the script originally, when I just didn't really understand who the actors that were playing the characters, I almost felt like Tom's character was going to be younger, and then when it was Liam and then the two of you together, I said, okay, that's perfect, in the sense of, I thought he was a Marine, so he was probably younger, but he's not that young in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
But the two of you, I thought, worked well as far as your ability to take Annie's, because you needed a lot of strength to get through the fact that you found out that he's really not, he's a good guy, but he's a bad guy. I mean, there's a little bit of a give and take. Of course,
yeah.
We won't talk about the FBI agents who go rogue and go bad, but where was the strength of the character as far as overcoming the fact that you finally found out he's a bank robber, a serial bank robber, and you still stuck through it. You got hit, you got punched.
I mean, I guess I know. She really did. Well, I think it's just, the metaphor is that we really don't know what we'll do for love. And, I mean, even the Grinch's heart grew how many times? So I think that we don't know what we're capable of until we're put up against it, and that people are complex, and I think that people are capable of greatness and smallness and darkness and light, and that was part of the draw and appeal of the character and the story to me, was that none of these people are straight up infallible, and I think we're beyond the days in our culture and in certainly in my life of hero worship, and so it's not really how you do when people show you their greatness and their lovability and all their great qualities, but how do you deal when you realize that their weaknesses and their fallibility and their mistakes and their darkness, their ugliness? How do you deal with that? That's harder to love, you know? But Annie does it. Annie does it. I know, when I first read the script, I was like, who is this magical unicorn? I guess she's me. No, but it's been fun to play that and find that, and tonally, and also keep it grounded and real and intimate and real, like that it's very much this is happening, and what would you do?
What's it like working with Tazzy?
Okay, first of all, Tazzy is the cutest dog ever, but I will tell you, when I first read the script, not knowing that Tazzy is Mark Williams, the director and writer's dog, I was like, this is the most detailed description of a dog in a film I've ever seen. And I didn't understand that it was like his dog. I was like, wow, this is weird. In the stage directions, like the description, the cutest dog ever. It was like this whole thing. I was like, all right, okay. Like I just didn't know. And so it was very funny to understand that when I met. But Tazzy is I don't say the dog's very well taken care of, very well loved. And she is super, super cute. Yeah, she's like a real life teddy bear. So, yeah.
Do you think the dog gives Jeffrey's character a little bit of a soft edge to him?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a wink there too. I think it's very humorous, but it's also, I mean, you're gonna have to talk to Jeffrey about that, because that was his number one scene partner. I was like, buddy, here you go. Don't worry about her stealing focus at all. I worked with babies for like the better part of a decade, so yeah, babies and animals, enjoy it. But she was pretty sweet, and I do think it's always great to see like either a tough guy or, a fed, a guy who's serious as a heart attack with this little cutesy dog. I mean, especially Jeff, he's such a great actor, and he's so stoic and has such a great kind of face of I think he's like so iconic. He's an old friend, and I just love his work so much. But to see that face and that kind of calm groundedness that he brings to his character and his role, certainly, and then you have this little dog. I love it. I loved it.
So I'm going to ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my question. But would there be anything you would rob a bank for?
Would there be anything I'd rob a bank for? I mean, I'd probably rob a bank easier than you might think. It just seems like fun, first of all, the kind of sheer naughtiness of it, especially the way, Liam's character does it. That just seems kind of fun. I mean, but anything, yeah, I mean, I don't have a list. No one gets hurt, All right, so some money goes away, whatever. I kept joking with Liam, like, don't you want to at least buy me a handbag before you, before you bring all that money back? Yeah. Kind of fun.
What's it like shooting in New England? How do you like?
Oh, it's been wonderful. Yeah. Not only because it's an easy flight from New York, but no, I love. It was really wonderful to start here in the fall. We get to see all the foliage and just the energy of the area has been really cool. I hate to use words like energy, but I am a California girl at heart, so I'm going to use words like energy. But it's been really cool to. For me, one of the great things about being on location is meeting the people and the locals and going to local businesses. And so and one of the ways I keep saying is when I'm not shooting, to sort of develop little rituals or little schedules. So production provided me with a rental car, and I was able to go on my time off I found a Pilates studio, then I found another gym that does circuit training, and then I found these restaurants that I love. There's a great food scene happening. I mean, my only lament is in a way, it goes by really fast. This 6 weeks flew by. So there was this one place in Worcester that I saw. It was one of the colleges that was having a holiday pops concert, and I didn't manage to get to see it. But I really do love supporting local business, and hopefully our shooting here wasn't too much of an annoyance, and that it was actually kind of fun or helped. I think it's a great. Worcester, particularly, is a great little city, and. Like many cities in America, there's that time of kind of revamping it and infrastructure and all of that. It's been really cool to.
This city's going through a huge metamorphosis.
Yeah, a massive metamorphosis, and it still has a small town vibe, which is cool.
Is there anything else we want to know about your character? We've asked all the right questions.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you any longer.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right, so if you do rob that bank, please share.
Oh yeah, I would. I would be like I'd be an honest thief. I'd be a little more Robin Hoody. It's no fun alone. Like you're like, look at everybody.
Jeffrey
Dinner's on.
said that, no, my conscience, not knowing that I have 9 million, no, not going to do it. So he was pretty.
Conscience what? He said that he wouldn't give it back?
If he opened up a storage place and found $9 million, he would just not touch it because
karmically? Well, I think that is a different question than robbing a bank. I mean, if I could, I don't know. It sounds like kind of fun. I mean, doing a fight scene was really fun, so I imagine robbing a bank would be really cool, too. Yeah.
Well, the Brinks robbery was shot in Boston back in 1973.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I went to the Gardner Museum, too, and they were talking about, oh my gosh, we did that on Sunday. It was my only trip into Boston.
John Singer Sargent.
Oh, that's what I went to see, the Sargents. But our tour guide was telling us that of course, they have the empty frames where the big robbery was in the 90s. And I haven't listened to that podcast, but a friend of mine was like, oh, you must listen. So
Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
So everybody thought that Whitey knew where those paintings were.
Oh, really? Because that's what I said. They said they thought there was a mob connection. But no.
Whitey got taken care of in prison, and we still don't know where those paintings are.
Oh my gosh.
But I was just there like 3 weeks ago. I just loved it.
It's so great. I hadn't been in like 20 years, so I hadn't been since they did the new edition, which was stunning, incredible. And there's that concert facility there where everyone has a front row seat, and then we just happened to walk in when somebody was practicing their cello. It was kind of perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience. Yeah.